We've highlighted the Caribbean Video Assistance Service app on the show previously, which seeks to assist the deaf and blind communities to communicate effectively with their smartphones. It is the brainchild of the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, who aims to narrow the communication gap between some of our most vulnerable and the health agencies during this pandemic. Our two guests this morning to chat with us, Trevor Prevatt, who is a consultant with the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, and Dookhran, who is a public relations official WeCare Network. We also have with us Ryan Hutton, who is a sign language interpreter who will be signing on behalf of Stephen. Thank you both, Stephen and Trevor, for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Trevor, we'd like to start with you telling us about the unique challenges the deaf community has faced in this pandemic time.
You know, I really think you should ask Stephen that question. You know, I am not deaf. Stephen is very much part of that community. But it's, you know, the deaf community faces challenges all of the time, one of them being communication. But to talk about specifics that they're really seeing at this time, I think Stephen is best placed to really give you that information.
Sure, Stephen, please let us know what your experience has been. And particularly as a PRO, you clearly have a broader sense as well of what your community has been facing in this time. Do share that with us.
Okay, there are two things. The first being students, deaf students. That challenge is on Zoom. It's really terrible because when students are on their online class and they have teachers that they're looking at, they have an interpreter on a separate device. And the problem is you have to be looking at the TV, at the Zoom while the teacher is teaching, and then you're looking at your device for what the interpreter is saying that the teacher is saying, and it's causing frustration. Because you have to look at the interpreter to know what's happening, but then you would miss a demonstration or an image or an illustration that the teacher may be using as a guide to teach. So you're looking at two different screens, and it's very hard. You know, it's easy for a hearing student to hear what's happening, and then they write in their notes. So now for the deaf student, they look in two different screens, and then having to write notes. It's hard, because remember, you can't hear. Your eyes are the only way for you to quote unquote hear. So maybe in the future it would be better. A solution would be maybe that the interpreter could be there with the teacher or via Zoom, so that the student could have one place to look and maybe try to take better notes, you know?
Yes, of course. And Trevor, I think particularly with respect to patients who are deaf, how has their care been affected, and both at home and by health practitioners, and how easy has it been for that care to be administered by health practitioners?
Well, I think that we all in the society are facing the challenge, particularly in the pandemic, of making sure that we get vaccinated. And so I've tried to personally to get through to the hotlines and to make appointments, and it's a challenge. So one of the things that we've written to the Ministry of Health about is that what we'd like to do is to get a dedicated line that we at CVAS can use to have the deaf call into us, and then we would then make the connection for them to the hotline that's there dedicated for them, and then they would be able to get their appointments much more easily. So that's one of the things that we've written to the Ministry of Health about, and we're very much hoping that they would facilitate us, because I think we all have a responsibility to make things better for people with disabilities.
And how has the Caribbean Video Assistance Service app helped in this regard? What has the feedback been, the uptake by members of the public?
Okay, the uptake is there. It's getting better and better. Just this week alone, we signed up about 5 or 6 new users, new deaf users in particular. What's happening, I think, is that the deaf community, it has coped with its challenges. So it's had coping mechanisms that it's used all these years. And as with anything, it's difficult to change. People don't necessarily like change. So I think it's taking a little while for for someone in the community to get accustomed to CVAS, and just to explain to people who don't know about the Caribbean Video Assistance Service. What it does, it enables someone who's deaf, like Stephen, he can talk to an agent like Rayanne, and then he can talk to me. I don't know sign language. And so what's happening at the moment is Rayanne is telling him exactly what I'm saying. So she is really just an intermediary to communicate between the two of us. And that's what CVAS does. So CVAS allows the deaf to talk to hearing parties. It could be anyone. They're doctors, they're lawyers, banks, insurance companies, anyone at all. And of course, those parties can also call back to them through CVAS as well. So what CVAS allows to do, let me just say this, is that it really gives the deaf independence. And I really were hoping that more and more of them will use it and understand the power that CVAS gives them.
And Stephen, you can tell us about your experience using the app, and also how has the outreach been to members of your community to get them on board?
Okay, my experience, when it just came in, when CVAS was just a new thing, I tried it, I downloaded the app, and I started to see that there was some connectivity issues. You know, it depended on your location, your ability to connect to CVAS was an issue. So if you were with Flow or any other network, I'm with Flow, it's a good connection. But then there were some people who were using another connection and they were frustrated and they weren't getting through. So, you know, CVAS is a very, very good app. I don't have anything negative to say, just only positives. It's easy to use. You know, before I used to have to use a friend and say, friend, beg, friend, please, can you call? And they wouldn't sign enough fully what was happening in the call. But if I go to CVAS, I have an interpreter who wouldn't miss anything. And, you know, I feel a lot more independent, you know. I can call and communicate much better. It's just one thing. There are some companies that don't accept an interpreter calling on behalf of someone. But I think as time goes by, we develop better.
And in terms of outreach, Stephen, how have you managed to get members of the community to buy into that? How difficult or easy has that been?
No, it's easy, you know. I just explain, because recently my son, I was speaking to his school teacher, and she was asking about CVAS, and she accepted it. She downloaded the app as well, you know, so she could get on to me. It wasn't hard getting people to join. But, you know, the bank and financial institutions, it's a problem there. But I know in the future, you know, we could find something.
Trevor, is there any, how would you appeal to members of the public to take this app on board? Businesses, how do you get businesses on board as well?
Yeah, what we're going to try and do is, and we've had some discussions already with the association, well, in the particular association of insurance companies. What we like to do is sit down with members of basically the customer care groups and just introduce them more to CVAS, to say that, look, you have deaf customers. You can then use this application to talk with them. But there is, as Stephen mentioned, there could be a challenge where they feel that there may be a confidentiality issue, but our agents have all signed a code of ethics, which, you know, they have to absolutely keep the confidence of our users. And so it's a question of getting the word out, and we're really very happy to be here today with you in order to let the general public know more about CVAS and know that it's there for the deaf community, and also the blind as well.
And of course, it's all free of charge.
Yes, very much. Very free of charge, absolutely no cost to our users. And in particular, I do want to emphasize that issue of it's confidential. Because as Stephen mentioned, what you've done in the past, you begged a friend, you begged a family member, and they've done this thing. And you know you trust those persons. And I want the deaf community to understand that they can trust our agents. They won't, hear their business coming back to them through because they've spoken to someone on CVAS, a CVAS agent.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Thank you so very much, Trevor, Stephen, and Rayanne. I can't forget Rayanne. She's been instrumental in all of this. And all of the persons like Rayanne who are doing human service, especially in this time. Thank you so much. And you see all the information there if you want to reach out to CVAS or anyone to get more information. Thank you all so much. And for another Trinbago You're Nice segment, we have this Flora presentation of the Bachelor Button by Stephen Rattan of Marabella. Never heard of this one. Maybe I've seen it. This is a nice pink, sort of fuchsia pink one for you this morning. Thank you very much, Steve, for this. And we have one more interview segment after the break. Do stay with us.
In this life, when negative vibes it come your way, just ignore them.